Matt Herman with Puro Happold. I have a question for Lester. I was just curious what your aspect ratio was on your massing studies that you had up there.
1 to 3.
1 to 3?
1 to 3, yep.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
I have just have a question about the photovoltaic. I saw Dr. Li saying that in super high-rise building, we can have a chance to install those photovoltaic panel. But Mr. Partridge saying that the chance is almost 0. So how do you see the difference?
Listen, photovoltaic cells, you know, if you look at the absolute amount of energy that you're going to save, or at least generate on site, there will be an absolute amount of energy that you'll generate, whether those photovoltaic cells are located on the roof, whether they're located on the north facade, if it's in the southern hemisphere, or the south facade, if it's in the northern hemisphere, or even on the east and west. But you'll find that as a percentage of the building energy, it is always a very small percentage. And it's just a function of the fact that the sun is always moving. You've got if it's located on the roof, you've got a very small area, especially for a tall building, which makes it even worse. And of course, the efficiencies of photovoltaic cells are at best around about 12 to 15%. And then of course, as the sun angle moves away from the normal, it starts to reduce during the day. So it's only during that peak period of the day when the sun's, or the photovoltaic cell is pointing directly at the sun, you're getting the peak efficiency. So it's more about, I mean, my paper was more about the percentage of influence it has as opposed to the gross amount of kilowatt hours.
All right. I think the BIPV is one kind of a design strategy for the sustainable building design. For the super tall buildings, because the solar radiation on the above level is higher than the lower level, so I think there's more potential for use this BIPV system for sustainability.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the floor?
This is for Fritz and Dag. First off, a statement, loved the presentation. But I was curious if you had done any research looking at the cycle time of your proposal compared to a standard, maybe double stacked elevator. Two things. One is the cycle time and also the carrying capacity, the number of people potentially in the train or, the funiculator.
Hello? Yeah. Unfortunately, no. To give you the short answer. This system is in the very conceptual phases, but I mean, I think that if it's quicker to take a high-speed train to a city than it is to take a taxi, I feel quite convinced that we'll be able to, with time, prove that this system is much faster than conventional elevators. I mean, the conventional elevator was invented in 1900. We're now living in the era of 2012. You know, I doubt very seriously if people hang on to all inventions that come from the 1900s. I mean, I believe that it will be quicker because of the speeds that can be incorporated into it. But no, we haven't gotten that far. This is actually the first time that we've actually presented the idea publicly. So there's a lot of work to be done with this.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't like the experience, free-fall experience when every day I went to the office. But actually, for currently the high-speed lift in the world is almost reached to 20 meters per second, right? So it's quite an amazing speed compared with Type 101, which is only 16.8 meters per second. So I still think that for the coming 20 years, we still rely on the elevators.
I disagree with you. Because look, we put a lander on Mars, I mean, that kind of thing, I mean, we have this industry, the civil engineering, structural engineering, we've got to stop thinking in the box and move on. I mean, look at how much exploration or how much forward movement have been made in other industries. I did work for Martin Marietta Aerospace Company, and there was a time when the rockets were very, very crude, but now we're able to actually send a rocket and a lander all the way to Mars. I think the point is here is that we have to accept that some of our ideas are almost ancient, not just old, but almost ancient. And this may not be the answer. I'm not saying this is the answer. But I know having 100 boxes on strings that go up and down high-rise buildings is not the answer.
Okay, and any further questions? You got a gentleman there.
I'm Kevin Adolny, structural engineer in Tokyo, Japan. And I have a question for Fritz and Dag. The first day when we were debating tall, the elevator consultant was talking about you can only go so tall before you need to make 3 transfers in the elevator because the cables can only go for so far. So that's kind of a limiting factor for the height. But I see for your system, you could potentially get rid of the cables. You could have cables between stations, and then you could use one articulator, funiculator to go up 1 kilometer or more.
I think there's a lot of different options the way this idea can proceed. Like I said, the idea was just born in Hong Kong when we saw the funicular. So how to proceed with this or what it will be able to do in the future, I think will be left up to time. But one of the beauties I think of it is that if you can balance loads, then you're saving energy. I mean, the universe, we have to look at, there's a lot of things that are sustained. So if we can figure out how to tap more into what's already sustained equations, I think we can make some progress. So, and I also, as a structural engineer, I mean, you know, when I see tall, thin buildings and, you know, 50% or more of it is dedicated to a box in the center just to move people up and down, it just makes me think something's wrong. So how it goes will be up to us, you know, the people like you and other people to come to take ideas and to groom them for the future.
There's a question from the gentleman.
Hi, my name's Chaz Pope from Arup. I think quite a few of us were blown away by that last presentation. Unfortunately, my question's actually just been asked, so I'm going to make a suggestion instead. The first time I went on a funicular railway, it was a little Victorian cliff railway in Britain, powered by water, which had been running down a cliff. We've just been spending some time on a project wondering what we can do with recycled rainwater because too much is generated to flush the toilets. So perhaps that's another thing you could think about.
I like that idea. I mean, it seems like we're headed, that makes sense. Use what's already there and take energy from it.
Okay, any further questions? Before? Yeah, the gentleman here.
Again, on the funiculator, it goes back even further than the funicular you saw in Hong Kong, which is where I live. But more than 50 years ago, I remember being in a Paternoster in Germany. Now, you know what a Paternoster is. It's the beads, the Catholic beads, right? And this was a series of open boxes on a continuous loop in the building, and you sort of waited until your box got there and you stepped in, and then when it got up to the floor that you wanted, you stepped out quickly, and it just kept going. So it sounds very much like what you're talking about, except you've automated it. But my question really is, are you going to be looking at the distance between stations in terms of the speed you can achieve and the cabling that you can put in there, or are you going to be looking at it in terms of how much patience people have between trains? Because that's really the driving force, I think.
I mean, the way I see it, as this is still a conceptual idea, is that the systems would be tailor-made for the circumstance at hand. But at least from my point of view, I think speed is essential, because the faster you can move up and down a tall, thin skyscraper, I mean, just the more, just the more, it makes more sense, I guess, is the only way I can say that. But perhaps there's more than one way to look at what would produce the most efficient system. There could be many ways, probably, different angles, and hopefully if new ideas like this proceed, it probably opens up new thoughts on that. And I would expect a lot of different types of ways or suggestions in terms of how it could proceed. Do you have anything?
Yes, one thing. While we are based in Sweden, our products are not really a good place to develop these things on. So of course we're looking for partners to develop these ideas in actual products. That's my only comment. We are based in the wrong part of the world.
Okay, so it's time for the break. Okay, thank you for the 4 speakers here. Please now join us in the exhibition space for the coffee break, kindly sponsored by Mitsubishi Elevator. And we have small souvenirs for all speakers. Thank you.